Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome to another Connections. I know that some of you are just hopping on now. Some of you are being like, hey, Matthew, you were supposed to be here at the top of the hour. It's 11 minutes past. Where were you? My time is precious. I get it. I respect it. I honor it. I understand that. I needed to be in the room with the folks that you see before you right now, and spend some time making sure that they know how much I love them, how much I care for them, and I care about what they are bringing to the world. And so I needed to make sure that that was all set up. I needed to make sure that they understood that this is going to be as organic and free in a way that we can be with our authenticity as we keep moving this forward, you see? So before we go any further, I'd like to take a moment of silence for the Ukraine and Russia and the peoples there and the people of the world, and just take this moment to put out into the universe the energies that you have. If there's a deity that you pray to or anything like that, if you just want to think good thoughts, if you want to be angry and mad about the fact that humanity is still stuck in this artificial border world that we got to fight and kill each other for, whatever it might be for you in this moment of silence, please put some energy out there for it. Blessed be. Ashe. Thank you all for being here. We have quite the lineup for you all today. I'm super excited about the folks that we have. And before we get to that, please check out the comment section. So I've asked the folks in the room, I had them take some of the organizations that Matthew Reynolds Consulting has been highlighting over this month, and going to have them paste some of those URLs in the comment section of this Facebook Live so that you can go and access those organizations and see what wonderful work and history that they're creating and putting out there in the world. And some of the folks in this room work for those organizations, some of those organizations, and some of the folks in this room are the head of that organization or of an organization. And we're going to talk about that in a second. We have been highlighting most of these organizations, like I said, for the month, and we're also going to do a replay of this video. So if you couldn't join us live, you might be watching this now on the replay. I hope that you get to see those comments and know that you can check out those organizations as well. My name is Matthew Reynolds. My pronouns are he, him, they, them. I'm a same gender loving, multi-ethnic warrior who self-identifies as Black. I consider myself a change catalyst, an equity seeker and creator, a belonging builder, warrior of justice, liberation, and freedom guide, and synthesized down, I'm a human spirit amplifier. My access needs this morning, I have my little bit of energy here, a little bit of caffeine that I'm drinking. I've also got my water next to me as well. I'm making sure that the chair that I'm on is nice and comfortable, and I'm doing my best to juggle that technology balls and energy in the air to make sure I'm clicking things and doing all of that as well. And so as we move forward, not only have we been amplifying the voices and information of the organizations in the comments, we at Matthew Reynolds Consulting have been getting the word out there about current Black movers, shakers, and what I call history makers. These folks are sharing of their heart and mind on the daily to help shift the consciousness of humanity, the paradigm, if you will, to one that is more humanity-led in so many positive and powerful ways. So I'm going to step back. I'm going to click on view and make sure that it's speaker and not gallery. And we're going to meet our panelists and hear from them what they're offering to the world is. And so I'd like to go ahead and start off with Leslie. If you will kick us off, that would be great.
Absolutely. My name is Leslie M. Scott Jones. She, her pronouns. And as long as there is a fan, because it's that time of life, I may have a personal summer in here at a moment. You may see me fanning. Okay, just pay no attention. I'm just cooling myself off. I define myself primarily as an artist, writer, producer, director, singer, actress. My the blessing of my life has been that my day job has intersected with my artistry. I am the associate curator of public programs and education at the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center in Charlottesville, Virginia. And if you don't know this organization, it is a Black culture and history organization tasked with telling the Black history of Charlottesville in the 20th century. So we have a permanent exhibit called Pride Overcomes Prejudice that tells the history of the Black school, the all-Black school that was in Charlottesville directly after emancipation. And we also have a contemporary gallery where we do 4 shows a year, all by Black artists. We are getting ready. Our next exhibition in the Contemporary Gallery opens on March 12th. So if you're in the Charlottesville, Richmond area, hop on by and see it. It's called Memory Quilts, and it is a collection of 9 quilts from a master quilter, all with Underground Railroad patterns. It's a really beautiful show. It's a beautiful show. And I'm not just saying that because the quilter is my mother. It actually is a beautiful show. In my job, I am also the artistic director of an all-Black theater company called the Charlottesville Players Guild. We are currently in our second to last season of presenting all 10 Century Cycle plays by August Wilson. Yes, and it's been it's been really interesting and amazing work. At the conclusion of our producing this, we will have a week-long August Wilson Symposium where we will invite professional practitioners such as Justin Emeka from Oberlin Conservatory and Teresa Dalvest from Prairie View in Texas to come and have a week-long conversation with our practitioners about how we do what we do and why we choose to do Wilson and why his work is important and how his work speaks to particularly Black artists and Black audiences, what we gain from that and how we build on that. You know, where's the next August Wilson? Let's go, let's make him. And so, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I realized a couple of years ago that even though I am an artist myself, I was put here to make sure that every Black artist has a space and a place to find their particular voice. That's what I'm here to do. That is my life mission. And you know, if you can't get down with that, then I guess you're not supposed to be in the room with me.
Woo. There it is. Thank you, Leslie, and welcome. Next up, we have Trina Bolden Fields.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for this opportunity. And Leslie, what a beautiful opportunity to get to know more about you, your work, and what you're here to do, and also to get to know everybody who's on the panel today. I'm excited to be amongst greatness as we honor this month, as we honor this year, and those who have come before us. As Matthew mentioned, I am Trina Bolden Fields, and I am an actor. I am a life coach. I'm a program director, content creator. I've done counseling before. So I am a psychologist by training. I am a writer, a publisher, and editor. All of these titles I've had and work that I've done. But essentially, what I do with my work is I am here to create original works that transform lives. And so when I'm working with people, I help people walk closer towards self-love, to claim their worth, to ignite their dreams and make their impact. That's what I do when I'm around and working with people. And in this space, I think it's really essential for us to step further into that self-love, closer into loving of others, so that we can all shine our lights brightly in supporting of that in humanity. So that's who I am. That's what I do. And I love the work that I do. I do intersect and work and help out different organizations, mainly DEI consultants. I used to do that work previously. And so I enjoy helping DEI consultants in that work and space. I've also created content and curated shows that was about supporting women of the movement for Black history and civil rights. And so I've created my own one-woman show called Daring to Think, Move, and Speak, which was on tour for a while, featuring 5 women of history who did wonderful, as you know, beautiful things to help humanity and really Black people and to save lives. So I do that work continually, and I'm just very excited to be here and to be a part of this conversation today. I know it's going to be fire, so I'm here for it.
Thank you, Trina. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. We're going to keep moving right along because I already, with both of you, it's like I have to hold myself back. I know as each one of you speak, because I just want to continue to have a conversation about who you are. But next up we have James Dixon. Welcome, James.
Hello, my name is James R. Dixon, and I live in Portland. I use he, they pronouns. I am a chocolate brown, unapologetically Black, queer, disabled veteran. 6 feet tall, and I weigh about 244 pounds for those who need that descriptor. I go by James R. Dixon because there's another actor in town named James Dixon as well. And so for some reason, they keep mixing us up here in Portland. And, and he's really light-skinned and I'm dark-skinned, but we're doing what we can to help folks, separate the two. So I go by James R. Dixon publicly, and you can find me at jamesrdixon.com. What do I offer? By day, I work in tech. I'm working now, I'm multitasking. But by night, I'm a theater maker as well. I'm an actor, director, and producer here in Portland with Fuse Theater Ensemble. We recently started the Blackout Theater Festival, which is a producing engine that nurtures and incubates the work of Black queer artists as best we can. I remember meeting Matthew and Leslie. I think I met you when I met Matthew in one of the sessions from Virginia, maybe. And ever since then, I've been talking about creating with an equity lens. So that's literally what I do. And you don't just have to create with an equity lens. You can do a lot of things with an equity lens. And I want to challenge people to do that 365, which we're going to talk about. Also, I have some mental health things going on. Once again, I'm a service disabled veteran. I experienced sexual trauma when I was in the service, and I now receive benefits. So thank you for paying your taxes. And the government gave me a lot of free education. So I'm also a mental health first aid instructor. I teach suicide prevention, and I'm also a peer support specialist with the Portland VA Research Foundation, working in their psilocybin unit. And I got into that work so that I can help our people and recognize mental health challenges with our people and hopefully get them some help. Is that everything? Oh, and I'm directing a musical in Missouri. I'm directing Once on This Island in the fall. So if you're in that area, check it out. That's it.
Yes. And no, that's not it.
It's not it. That's all I got right now. It'll come up. Something else will come up.
It's once again, it's like every single one of those things I want to pull out and be like, okay, let's talk about this a little bit more. So we're going to keep going on. And next we're going to meet Kokai Nokasier. Welcome, Kokai.
My name is Kokai I'm the best there is, the best there was, the best there will be, and I'll be like that for life. If you don't believe me, ask me again, and I'll tell you. I come with this kind of energy on a regular basis because I'm an extreme extrovert. I'm also an activist. What does that mean? That means I want you to act. I don't want you to sit there and wring your hands in the face of a problem. I want you to craft a solution and begin moving towards implementing that solution. In 2019, I went to the Beloved Music Festival. While I was there, 4 young multi-ethnic geniuses, all who identify along the spectrum of feminine energy, crafted something called a BIPOC sanctuary, Black, Indigenous, People of Color sanctuary. I was so mesmerized by this innovation that I wrote it down, called it a book, When and Where We Feel Safe. And then when I returned to Southern Oregon, since then, I've been working on building such. What is a sanctuary? A sanctuary is a place where we can come, heal from the internal wounds of white supremacy, and then return back into the community more and more of our authentic self, so that we bring our light into a room and that light transforms the room. We are not going to sit up here and act as if we don't carry Amarita with us, Harriet Tubman with us. Plantations did not have fences. The only fences then, as soon as we get rid of those fences, then we can move north, south, east, west, anytime we want to as free Black people. I also inspire our white friends and family to create racial trauma centers in order to help them heal, because I believe in taking care of both sides of the equation. You don't just strengthen Black people to face white supremacy, you also strengthen white people to eliminate white supremacy so that we can begin acting as if we are part of the human families of the planet Earth. So on this historic day and weekend, I only have 6 words: accept your own and be yourself. Peace.
Yes, yes. The fire is building, y'all. It just keeps building and building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, and now we're gonna move to Mariella Marie. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome.
Thank you. I have my hand on my heart because my heart is pumping, y'all. And I need to reconnect with that. And I invite you all to do the same. All my access needs are met, and I'm just gonna send a reminder out to connect with your gravity if you need to. We are connected to this earth. My feet are planted, my hand is on my heart, and I thank all of you who are here today. I feel a buzzing sensation, and thank you, Matthew Reynolds, for connecting us. Let's breathe, y'all. This is powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you for lighting the fire. Okay, so peace and love to everyone. My name is Mariella Marie. I use she, they pronouns. They includes my ancestors, as I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. And as I recognize my sacred relationship with them, their visions, their legacy and love, and their resilience. I'm joining from the mighty mountains of Patagonia, Argentina, and San Martin de los Andes, the original lands of the Mapuche people. I've been in Argentina for 10 years, and I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I am a queer Renaissance woman, social impact producer, and creative director at the Positive Force team, where we curate reflective and socially responsible interventions. I would include this as an intervention as well. Thank you for, I'm not on Facebook, but I appreciate that y'all are bringing me to Facebook because I got a lot of things to say about Facebook, and we gonna share that right now as a family. So let me get back to the Positive Force team. I work with collaborating with independent creators, deepening our emotional intelligence and experimenting with our creative abilities. We make a positive impact on our personal and collective well-being at the Positive Force team. So if anyone is interested in joining in on that, I am also on a mission to bring visibility to artists. So I'm also going to call out, where is the next August Wilson? Where is the next James Baldwin? How are we, elevating these voices so that we can really be the change we want to see and call our ancestors and, our previous lives into the space as well. So yes, I also love collaborating with provocative thought leaders and social impact producers who unapologetically protect and nurture our collective environments, our cultural and countercultural awarenesses, and who offer accountability and diverse resources to amplify conscious production and conscious consumption across the global spectrum. We have consumer power, y'all. We need to wake up to that, okay? Especially as people of color in the world, we can use that power, so don't forget that. Yes, we engage with mindful collaborations and expose counterculture perspectives on an international level to bridge diverse voices, ideas, and knowledge. Our hope is that those who participate at whatever capacity, even if you're just listening now, you're practicing active listening, and I appreciate you. But as you participate, we hope that you can enrich your approach to life, work, and community involvement with the same manifesto: mindful consumption, mindful production, conscious evolution. So if you want to learn more, please subscribe to my newsletter at thepositiveforceteam.org. Again, I'm going to call out, where is the next August Wilson? I know that they are around. We are around. And let's take our power back so that we can take up more space here. So thank you, Matthew Reynolds, for inviting me. If anyone wants to practice whatever y'all are practicing where you are right now, if you want to practice that here in Patagonia, in the mountains here, I am opening an artist residency. And so one of my, big curiosities is to figure out, how to get more Black folks traveling in the world, because that really just changed my life. So I want to offer that opportunity to whoever's listening. Hit me up. Respect, everyone.
Oh. Woo. Buzz, 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 buzz. The fire, the fire. Yes, thank you for bringing it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to keep moving forward, y'all. Keep moving forward. Jamez, welcome to the room. Welcome, welcome, my friend.
Hello, everyone. Just really excited to be here. So my name is Jamez Ashby, pronouns Jamez Ashby Jr., and that is also important. Pronouns he, him, his. I am originally from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, but I'm currently based in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I am a DEI practitioner. I am not one of those who think of the work as just DEI in this very standard frame, but I often reframe it as humanity work, really centering humanity and understanding that there is a constant shift in what that paradigm looks like. So a lot of times folks will hear me say, because it is the philosophy in which I do this work, that humanity is non-negotiable. I believe that the ability to do this work is an honor and a privilege. And I do it in the name of those who sacrificed their lives, but also so that those who didn't have a choice in sacrificing their lives were not lived in vain. So I take this work very seriously. Have been doing this, have been in this space all of my professional career, all of my educational career. It's how I paid for my education. It's what my education was based in. Also really, really proud of that opportunity as well. And I'm just really happy to be here and part of the conversation today. So thank you all.
Yes, yes, yes. Jamez, thank you. Right on, right on. Moving forward, moving forward. Claudia Alec, welcome to the room.
You're on mute, Claudia. We can't hear you.
That's amazing. Hello, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here with you on Black History Month. Such an amazing gathering of powerful Black folks. So thank you so much for gathering us, Matthew Reynolds. My name is Claudia Alec. I represent the Calling Up Justice practice. And the Calling Up Justice practice is a practice, an individual practice, and also it is in partnership with many different practices. And we're producing social justice. It's transmedia, and that indicates that we are working in embodied meet space. We're also working in digital spaces, and we're connecting all of these spaces because we feel like our stories need to live in all of these spaces. And if you are not producing for justice, you're producing for injustice. So we center justice and accessibility in all of our work with a fierce intersectional lens. I myself, personally, I consider myself a cultural producer. So I embody work, I write work, I design, I produce, I direct. Projects that you can experience with the Calling of Justice practice. You can visit callingofjustice.com and visit F the Gala. That's an intervention in the realm of arts fundraising. The Calling of Justice practice works internationally and nationally, and we actually work with a lot of funders, and we work with distributing funds. So we've helped to distribute millions of funds to artists all over the country, but we're really deeply curious about the question of justice and all of that. So we've been inviting people to come to our website and help us have a really big conversation about it, right? We produce plays. So I directed an all-accessible production of Electra with Access Classics. We consult with like the National Performance Network to help them have a fully accessible thing. We also build digital spaces because I also agree with you. I think that this particular platform that we on, it is not the commons. Facebook is not the commons. YouTube is not the commons. So we need to actually, and all of this like metaverse, Web.3, that's all them trying to steal. They're trying to colonize the digital space. So we need to take our stuff back, right? So a lot of the work that the Calling of Justice practice is doing is about creating intentional digital users. So we're on every platform. Come visit us on TikTok, come visit us on Twitch. We hold co-working spaces, intentional accessible co-working spaces throughout the week. With the Mosaic Network, we've created an alternative to Facebook for funders and BIPOC artists to actually get together and build. So we're doing that. We have something called the Cryptech Incubator that we're working on, which is a residency for disabled folk. We're working with Sites Unsettled, which is an accessible digital publication for Indigenous and Crip dramaturgs. So we got a lot going on. We want to work with you, and we're so accessible. You can work with us for 15 minutes, or you can come work with us forever. You can check out our link tree to connect to the work. All right, y'all, let's keep it moving.
Claudia, thank you so much. Right on. Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Keeping those fires going, y'all. Moving forward, next up, Nakia, welcome to the space.
Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here, like so many have said before, and just to be able to be in room with greatness, right? Like, I'm so excited to know you and to be able to connect, because I think that this is what organizing looks like, right? It's not just doing the work and having work all the time. It's also snippets of joy and being able to connect and be more human. And that is critical, because we are not just trying to make this world a little bit less worse than it currently is. We need to be able to figure out how we are going to collectively envision what does a world look like? What does liberation look like? What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? Right? Because we're not trying to just be like, oh, we would like a little less police brutality. I would like a little less red line. And no, we are trying to have actual liberation. And when I talk about liberation, I'm specifically speaking about Black liberation, but Black liberation includes all liberation, right? It is intersectional, because we are not going to just flip this power dynamic to something where we're going to have the same power dynamic that we had, just Black people on top this time, right? Like, we're not going to act like queer people aren't Black people, right? Like, we're not going to act like disabled people aren't Black people, right? Like, we're not going to do all this. So we're going to have an inclusive movement. I'm sorry, you asked me who I am. I haven't even answered. Okay, so there's some things you got to get to. Just inspired by y'all's amazing wisdom and beauty. So, visual description: I'm a Black woman. I have a fabulous lip by Rihanna that is deep red, that I don't normally wear, but this is a special occasion. I got the sides of my head shaved off because I'm queer, and that's how these things work. I use she, her pronouns, but really I'm kind of down for whatever, as long as it's with respect and love. Needs. So Claudia, before we even got here, was like, hey, can we talk about needs in the spaces? And I feel like it is so deeply important to normalize our needs, right? Because every time we come on a Zoom room, we in these little boxes and we also in these boxes. We're not supposed to eat on Zoom calls. We're supposed to forget that we have human needs, right? We're supposed to forget that we got cats. How many people are like, oh, I'm so excited to see your cats and your babies, right? Bring your humanity to the room. And that includes your needs, because we are not machines, right? And we need reminders every single time that we come in here that we are not machines, because they're trying to let us know that we are and that we're dysfunctional. Anyway, so I'm still working on my needs, to be perfectly honest, right? Because I think that there's a lot of times that we come in and we're like, no, we're fine, because we work on these boxes, but we don't even know. We don't know what we need. We're so used to having to deal with it ourselves, right? So I'm working on it. Who am I? My name is Nikia Winfield. I am a lover of life. I love to be able to have cooperative journeys of self-discovery. I'm curious about how we connect to Earth, how you connect to Earth. Where is your brilliance? Like, these are things that I love, and I want to know. So what I do is I analyze power dynamics in social systems, right? And that sounds like a whole lot of words, but like, it's glorious. I work for myself. And what this work looks like is, it looks like a lot of anti-racist education, right? Because I believe in each one, teach one. The idea is that like white supremacy is trying to mess us up, and we need to be able to figure out how we get right about it. And that means knowing how white supremacy calls us to come into the room, right? Even when you're trying to fight white supremacy, we out here doing protectionism, right? Say tokenism, exceptional, like distancing, all of those things are how we are called as Black people, as people of color, as marginalized people, to be able to come in the room and support white supremacy. And I have seen so many people who you talking about like, let's down with the man, we gonna have some liberation, but you're still doing those same things, right? I'm sorry, Matthew, I'm taking a whole long time. Let me hurry up. So what I do is I take my lenses and I use this to look at these power dynamics, right? So I'm a social worker, right? Social work, educated political social worker specifically. I'm a policy analyst. I'm an organizer, as y'all might be able to tell. I used to work for Apple doing HR. I like to be able to look at systems and systems accountability. How do our systems work so that we can figure out how to make them more human-centered? Right? Like, how do we make it so that our values are what is coming through these systems? Because let me tell you, if your outputs in your system are racist, your system is racist. So like, how are we going to be able to figure out how to fix that? Yeah, I also do facilitation. I love to be able to hold spaces so people can have a better conversation. And I'd love to be able to connect with folks, because I love to be able to partner on this work. We don't do this work ourselves. That's some individualism. That's some I am the only one stuff, right? And when we are coming into spaces and we are saying truth, we need to have some backup. So let me know. I'm happy to be able to work with you, whether it's coaching folks coming into your organization, or doing organizing with whatever your formation is, right? Because we got to get information. So anyway, I'm gonna close this out. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here. Matthew, go ahead.
Woohoo! Don't apologize. Please do not apologize in any way, shape, or form. And y'all thought we came here to play. No, we didn't. We did not come here to play. We came here to share. We came here to collaborate, to pull people together. And so we want to keep moving forward, and we want to hear from Natty Fantastic next. But Natty, welcome to the room.
Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. How goes? I am Natty, and I'm gonna keep it real simple because I want to get to the meat of this combo. I'm super keen about it. I am human. I believe in humanity. I believe in elevating it beyond some of the fucking shit that we all kind of are sinking underneath of. That's my vibe for sure. I'm a disruptor. At the fundamental level, I'm a disruptor. I came into the DEI spaces a few years ago. I've got a couple decades in operations management. I came into DEI spaces and I was like, y'all holding a bunch of stuff up in order to actually just keep the status quo moving. So my style is I focus on businesses just because I've worked with businesses so much. My inspiration is to really get businesses to understand how to operate with inclusive and equitable practices. I developed a framework called the anti-racist business model, which is specifically to help people formulate and drive their business with all of these there's 9 points to work on to develop that. I'm also the creator of the Anti-Oppression Academy, which is this epic 22-week long cohort, run it twice a year. We got the next one coming through in April, which really focuses on the human experience, the marginalized experience, and really helps people, business owners, specifically leaders, understand what they need to do to transform, not change, because change can be reversed, but transform the way they do things and transform the way they think about the collective of us out here. So that's my drive. It's a big part of me, is like really getting people to understand this liberation model, as I call it, which is, it doesn't matter where you are in this journey. You might be down here still trying to, like, choking down white privilege and trying to make sense of how that feels in your body and in your heart. So we can't come in and start talking about liberation and abolition. It's too high, it's too much. We can't touch them, we can't reach them there. So I focus on kind of bringing them in, catching people where they are and bringing them through this journey and elevating their conversation. We can't talk about anti-oppression if people don't really understand anti-racism. We sure as shit can't talk about liberation for all of us if they don't understand the basic fundamentals. So that's the teachings and the work that I do with people at this level of where are they and how can I move them through and create a bigger conversation beyond just focused on the shit that went down, like that forward side of things, of like what's driving forward in all of these kind of things, which is Matthew, where you and I connect. So that's me. Super stoked to be here. Y'all are just fired me up. I'm going to vibe off this for days. Amazing.
Yes, 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 and yes. Woo! Thank you, Natty. Fantastic. I'm going to go from speaker view to gallery view. I think that it's much more conducive to the community that I'm feeling in this space right now. So switching to gallery view, we're all on. Hello, hello, we're all there. And I'm just grateful to you all for sharing of your precious time with those who are here live and those who will be watching the replay later. Now we're going to go in the same order that we just went. I'll say your name, and I want to hear from each of the panelists now your answer to this question. How do we make Black History Month 24/7, 365? How do we make Black History Month 24/7, 365? Leslie?
I come at this from a maybe a little different place than other people, because I work for a Black history and culture organization. We do Black history every damn day. It's our job. We are infused with it. We are talking about it. We are teaching it. We are, getting people fired up and giving people information about what the Black people of the area that we lived in did and created on their own. Okay, let me say that again. Created on their own, no matter what the white people were doing. Okay, so I do it every day. My Black history is 365, 7 days a week, all the time. And it's kind of confusing to me. I had a colleague call me and say, oh, what's your Black history program? And I'm like, Black history program? We do Black history every day. Something. like, I don't know what to tell you. We don't parse it out like that. This is what we do. But for me, I think the main problem that I run into is that our younger generations don't know that they don't know, right? They, it's a different kind of assimilation that they have been subject to. Our parents had the, okay, don't go over there with them crazy white people. We gonna stay over here, right? And do our thing and don't worry about them, right? Purely as a physical safety kind of thing. This generation that's in like middle school, high school now, they have been fed the lie that their skin doesn't matter. They have been fed the lie that if they just fit in with their little assimilation group, right? If they fit in with, if they're a goth, then that's who they are and their Blackness doesn't add into that, right? They've been fed that that oppression is not happening anymore, that we are in a post-racial society, right? So they don't understand where they where people have come from. They don't understand the shoulders that they stand on. They don't even know. So it's been an uphill battle for us at the Heritage Center to try and bring more young people in and be like, no, you don't understand. You've been living in this town your entire life. Do you know that a formerly enslaved Black woman started this school? That's the first thing she did after emancipation. The first thing she did, start a school for you, right? They don't know that history. And then when they know that history, you can't move in the world unless you know who you are. And that's what we try and do. In my theater practice, I moved away from Western theater practice very purposely because I wanted my artists to be able to go out into the world. If they chose to do this as a job, I didn't want them to go into a white-led organization and have someone try and layer that white supremacy, that Western way of doing things on top of them, and them not have their own voice to say, I'm sorry, that's not how I enter this work. That's not how I do this. And you need to honor how I do this.
Yes.
Right? So I mean, I already do it 365, 7 days a week. And I think if you're Black, you do like that. How can you not? You're in this skin.
Yes. There it is. Yes. There might be a reason why you're the first one and at the top of the list as we funny how the universe works. Also, I'd like to say to people, y'all, we're gonna go past 90 minutes. Okay, so those who can stay on the call, but we're gonna go past 90 minutes today. And I know that from some of the churchings that I've gone to and things, the pastor will say, we're gonna go on past time, y'all. We got a little bit more to say today, so it is going to happen. And just know that. So settle on in, get yourself some more water, check your access needs as Claudia brought to us all. Yes. And make sure you got your stuff. Call people now and say, I'm not going to be getting on that call with you at this time. I got things to be doing with other people's. And it's happening right now as we move to Trina Bolden Fields. How do we make Black History Month 24/7, 365?
Beautiful question. But before I get into that, I'm going to have to give an access need. I will stay on, but I might have to take a photo break, pop in while I handle something, and then I'll be back. Okay, so just know when we get to that time. So this is a wonderful question because as Leslie mentioned, it's being in my skin every day, all day long. That's how I celebrate Black history, but also it's the education for self, of self, for me. And the moving towards loving of me and who I am. And so I recommend that for everybody in this space and who's listening in, is that you educate yourself, right? You engage your critical thinking skills. You take a look and see of what's around you and you celebrate the humanity in yourself and the humanity in others. That's really key. And I think it's really important to continue to contribute to organizations that are doing great work in support of humanity and of Black lives. So what does that look like for you? And how can you continue to contribute in a way that is supportive of? Another thing I think about is, I have to share this. I have to share this because I popped it on here, but listening to music, and I had to go to shouting music, because it's something in the honoring of our ancestors and the movement of spirit and what they brought to the table for us to be where we are today. And when we go back to those times and then enjoy and have in memory of and experience of, I am reminded of, I am because you are. And so, or I am here because they were, right? And I am here because I am here for you as well. And so I think about that and how can I honor that in spirit, in movement, in listening to. So that has come up for me. And it's so important for us to be in spaces of value and worth, and to remember our value and our worth and honor that in ourselves and in others. I think about as well the conceptualization of our work and of what we create. I know Leslie talked a little bit about this. Claudia may have mentioned this a bit. James may have mentioned this a bit, but we conceptualize and create. And even if there's a barrier in the way, what we've conceptualized can make it around, over, under, through, right? So keep that conceptualization and honoring of that, because we as people were brought here with some gifts, skills, and talents. And those gifts, skills, and talents have lasted for generations. In the mind, smart, intelligent, creative beings who know how to adapt, live, and be strengthened through. And I'm here because of my ancestors, and I'm grateful for that. So conceptualization has come up for me. There's a couple other things that I could share, but I'm gonna stop there, because that's the way that I can be an honor and share to honor Black History 365, 24/7, 365.
Thank you, Trina. Thank you, thank you, thank you. James R. Dixon, you're up, my friend.
Yeah, you sent this question via email, and I didn't write anything down, and I knew what I was here to talk about, and I didn't write anything down. I did. I wrote two things down, and the word somatic comes to mind, right? You know, when I think about just the past 2 years have been very hard. Like hard on the body. You know, I'm an empath and I'm married. You know, most of you don't know I'm married, but I'm married. And my husband is Black and queer, works in government. I do this work. I get racist messages sent to me for this work. I got people sending, I got white folks playing cops on my phone, on my voicemails and stuff, you know, all kinds of stuff. And I know I'm not the only person on this call that gets that, because we're doing something right. You know, we're doing something that needs to be done, right? But the other thing I wrote down is that there's resistance in rest, you know, and, you know, there's so much happening, and Black history is very important, but so much of queer existence has been forgotten in that. And not that it's just about that, but instead of focusing on Black history, I'm just trying to remain in the present, right? And not that that's not important, but I feel that when we focus on Black history so much, that in about, you know, a couple days, oh, what's next? I'm like, if we're going to the history, let's get to the present, let that propel you in the future, because what we don't want to do is look at that video of George that everybody's seeing. That's the most, I've never seen anything so, I'd never seen it. I'd never seen that. So I've never seen anything like that so visible. And after what we just went through, don't sit here and tell me that you don't know what the fuck you're gonna do for the future. And yes, I said fuck, I don't give a fuck, that's what I do. And I'm playing Samuel L. Jackson in a show tonight. So like, you know, it just rolls off the tongue. I'm doing Pulp Fiction at Funhouse Lounge. We open tonight. I'm playing you know who, so I'm that motherfucker. Anyway, moving on. ADHD, back to the subject. So yes, back to that subject. Mental health, 365. Yes, I have ADHD, I'll get with it. I'm focusing on Black health, y'all, like, and not just Black health for everybody, right? And so much of ourselves is left behind when we're in the present and we're in the now. You know, I meditate right now. My back hurts, my left knee hurts, and it's gonna be hurting all day. But I'm gonna work on my body, and when I get on the stage to do what I do tonight, I'm gonna focus on my body and lay flat on the floor and breathe, and put air in my lungs, and be thankful that I have that. Thankful for it, and thankful that I can tell a story. You know, it's Samuel L. Jackson. It's a parody. It's a joke, but I'm a Black man first. Always, you know, I'm a Black human first, and we're telling Black stories, and that is a somatic experience as well as that trauma that we bring in. And that's been really hard for me, because we opened, we had a preview, and I was like, I don't know my lines, and I'm realizing with everything that's happened, like the somatic rest, like when I'm really into my character and I really get everything going, I've really crossed that barrier in my body to the words to the story. It's harder to get there. It's really hard to get there. And I think it's because of everything that's been going on. And so as a producer, when I think about Black bodies on stage, we're not just actors, you know, we're not just, you know, yes, this is a job, but we're telling stories. Our bodies have, what is the word? I'm so I can't even get it right. the urgency, right? You know, there's violence in beautiful Black bodies, and feminine bodies. There's violence in that. And as producers, as theater makers, as practitioners, as folks with agency, we have to think about the body and the mind and how we're holding folks back with the things we haven't let go of, including myself. So that's what I want to bring in for 365. And I say myself because I'm a practitioner. I have work to do. Everybody in this room still has work to do, and we're already doing the work. So if you're not doing what we're doing, where you at, right? Connect with folks, and when folks are ready to work, let them work, and when they're ready to rest, let them rest. That's what I got.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
let me breathe.
Breathe. Breathe and ground. Yes. Whoo. Kokai. Yes, sir.
First, invitation to those who are on this panel to unmute, because I done seen a couple of things through this chat that this is church. And y'all know that our culture is interactive. The pastor does not stand up there and just give a lecture. The people help the word come through the pastor in order to provide the medicine that is needed at the present moment.
All right.
And the church said,
Thank
amen.
you.
Amen.
Thank
All right,
you.
all right, all right.
I was feeling like this.
Yeah.
I was like,
Because if I don't do
Right
that, then
there.
I'm not doing my particular job, which is we get to occupy the space the way that we are here to occupy the space.
Mm.
Okay.
Ashe, ashe, ashe.
So, yes, ma'am. So I am a Black historian. So I'm gonna start out by saying I'm Igbo, I'm Ife, I'm Hasua, I'm Mandinka. When I come to the Caribbean, I'm Tano, I'm Arawak, I'm Carib. What you bring into the room, that who you are, that is independent and interdependent to pushing off and on to white supremacy. The thing that just blows my mind that I'm trying to wrap my head around and conceive and perceive accurately is literally how did Amarit, who was a grown woman with children and a husband, gain possession of their mind? They grew up with all of the Negroes around them acting like livestock, and the white people treating the Negroes like livestock. So how did they break from that and orientate themselves in such a way that they gain possession and agency of self? And then moved with intention and purpose in spite of and in contrast to what was happening around them.
Yes.
Because they escaped enslavement after the person that we call Frederick Douglass. And they had to take their own name because Amarita was what they worked with. And then he said, no, I'm my grandmother. And her name was Harriet. So I want you to call me Harriet. I started shifting some of my stuff. Like I said, Gabriel owned by Prosser. Okay. So when it comes down to this, how do we bring that in 365 days out of the year? Literally, it's when do you put meditation into your day so that you show up strong as yourself, that cannot be moved off your square? Do you know what your love languages are? Can you communicate your love languages to others? Do you know what your personality is? And the various ways that we talk about personality. Do you use Myers-Briggs? If you don't, then use human design. But we ended up having to teach other people around us how to actually interact with us. And not interact with us by the programming of colonialism. As they say, if somebody has already made the table for you, then you need to ask why.
Yes.
Because if we're co-creating this experience right here and right now, in and through our indigenosity, then there's going to be a change, just like I'm hearing with the justice producers, just like I'm hearing with those who are helping people through art, manage and identify, then manage, and then overcome their trauma. Because if you're bringing your traumatized self, because that's what has currency in our society, then we are now perpetuating and contributing to our own oppression.
Yes,
I don't
we
want to
are.
do that.
Yes, we are.
I want to walk in my humanity more and more each and every day. And I recognize that the definition of humanity, just like Sister Leslie was talking about, the definition of humanity lies outside of the American experience.
Yes, it does.
Okay? Because I will point toward 6 directions. Reason I'm going to point toward that, and then I'm going to be quiet, is because I know you're right, but all of the pyramids are built off of 6 directions, whether they happen to be in Akibulan, aka Mama Africa, or whether they happen to be on Turtle Island. They're all built from 6 directions. And those 6 directions are needed and used in order for us to orientate who and what we are. Where is your center? Because once you find your center, then can't nobody take you off your square.
See.
Peace. And now I pass the mic.
Like I said, we going past the time, y'all. We are here. We are going past the time, just to let you know. Mariella Marie, what you got to add to this conversation? How do we make Black History Month 24/7, 365?
Ooh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm getting a message that the internet is a little unstable, so just let me know if I need to pause at any point. Whew. Okay, so everything everyone is saying, I agree 1000%. I am mirroring that. I feel that down to my bones. Connecting the body, the mind. The more we can do that, the more we can, break the shackles of this, mental. I mean, oh my goodness, we started off. I'm taking notes here. All right, Sister Leslie, you were saying different kind of assimilation is happening now, and the big word that came to mind is manipulation. And I believe that right now, I know that you all probably agree with this, wherever we are in the world, we're going through a social media revolution. And not social media as we know it today, not the Instagrams and Facebooks and things like that. So media, and the biggest word of media and everything that media can be, and social, us as humans, we are social beings. And I guess if you don't hear anything else I say today, I want us to wake up to the fact that, lots of things are moving on into the technical world, and we need to take up some space in the technical world. Otherwise, it's being colonized, and we are, our voices are being left out. Our stories are being left out, So actually something that I wrote down kind of intuitively, how can Black History Month, how can we practice it, everyone, because it's not, I don't think that just if you identify as being Black and you have that ancestry, I think this is a collective, we all come from Africa, and we have all benefited from the exploitation of Black peoples in the African diaspora. So this is a collective calling. Release, remember, and release. That's what I wrote down. And as you all were speaking before me, this releasing of holding on, our bodies hold on to things that we do not release from our ancestors, from our emotional, from how we've been, how we're not taking care of ourselves emotionally. I love speaking about the importance of emotional intelligence. And I think that if we could all just remember that we are all creative beings, we are all artists. This is another way we can practice, Black excellence, 365 all around. Remember that we are creative beings, and we are all essentially artists.
Yes.
And the system that has raised us, that we participate in, has allowed us to forget And we have accepted to forget that we are artists and we have the capability to create beauty in every moment.
Teach.
And
Yes.
so to release whatever is helping us forget that. So maybe that means, you know, I mean, that could be a lot of things, from the way we eat to what we consume on technology. Release. It took me coming to Argentina to speak with a OBGYN who practices holistic and alternative medicines and is also a Western medicine doctor. So I'm gonna go deep here, and then I'm gonna come out so that we can pass the mic.
Do it.
But you know how they just, you know, in the States, I am going through something where I'm understanding why am I living outside of the States, and this next month it'll be for 10 years. And I'm realizing it's not just a preference. Like there is some anger that I have been holding in my body. And it took me going to my 4th Vipassana 10-day meditation course in silence for 10 days to feel that anger. So it's not something that is easily recognizable. And so we have to release that anger, you know, connect, meditate, whatever it is that you need to do. And then remember our ancestors and just our innate ability to create and to love and to tap into love. So, and then to release again, to remember, you know, let's not hold on to anything again. Let's detach from that so that we don't continue to form, you know, polarization and this separateness that is happening, which is, you know, in effect can create a war, which is what we're seeing happening right now. So we just need to remember that we are love. We are, you know, we are connected. If you want to help the Black experience, which everyone in this world is a part of, connect to love, please connect to love. And review your consumption of technology, because, you know, we don't want to get ourselves into trouble again for another, you know, however many centuries, because we're giving all our power and time away to, you know, the digital space that does not have our voices included in how they are building technology. So y'all, let's wake up to that. Don't just give away. Review how you're using technology, because yes, we need to make sure that we're protecting ourselves. And along with that protection comes this release, remembering release.
Yes.
And jazz, jazz is how we can celebrate. You know, when I think of jazz, I think of, okay, you know, Nina Simone, goddesses bless her spirit, and may she rest in peace and power. All right, I'm gonna learn your Beethoven. Great. Beethoven also was lacking love in his life. If y'all look at the biography of Beethoven, you know, love, again, what I said in the beginning. But if I think of jazz, you know, and these musicians and people who are taking something that was mainstream, you know, this is classical music. In whose perspective is it classical? But okay, we'll take it, we'll learn it, and then we'll bend that to make jazz. So I call on everyone, let's create some jazz. Jazz is happening right now. You know, the revolution, the social media revolution is happening. And with that, I firmly believe is the Renaissance. And so some of us are tapping into that Renaissance right now. And I just want to say, let's continue to tap into that so that jazz can happen. And when jazz happens, let's not just give it away to Spotify and YouTube so that we don't get paid on that jazz.
Teach.
All right. Thank you. Peace and love.
Yes. Release, remembering, released. Yes, yes, yes. Jamez, how do we make Black History Month 24/7, 365?
Yeah, so I love everything everyone has said, right? And I think for me, folks who know me know that I get extra blackity black, like during Black History Month, right? So like I'm already black all the time. So like it's just like, yeah, I don't even like, it just gets more intense. Just like, yeah, I mean, because you know, I talk, everyone knows that I have bonnets. Everyone knows that I have to wrap my hair at night. Everyone knows that I have to listen to an hour of praise and worship music in the morning to get myself ready for work, so I don't use any words on client calls. But like, I mean, those are things that you already know. Right. So then when it happens, like, so then when we reach like, you know, Black History Month, it's like, okay, well, what more can I do? Right. And so I just find ways to just to be extra Black, and even more bold in my Blackness. But what I think about, what I was thinking about, like, as, and what kind of my theme has been, I feel like a lot of the conversation has been around, let's invite authenticity into spaces, right? And I remember that's when, like, when I was last year when I was transitioning from jobs, that's what I heard a lot, was like, oh, we want your authenticity to come into the workspace. Like, you know, definitely bring that to you. And I was like, you all have no idea what that is. Like, you're like, explain to me what you're inviting into the workspace, because you have no idea who I am besides my resume and my name.
Teach.
So it's like, it's literally this way of like, I was like, okay, well, that's fine. You know, thanks for the invitation. But I do this thing where I'm like, okay, well, let me now take the time to inform you of who Jemez is authentically, and paint the picture for what that looks like. And now I'm going to ask you, now that you have an understanding of who I am authentically, are you prepared, because you gave me an invitation, are you prepared for my authenticity? Can you support my authenticity? And can you develop my authenticity? Because oftentimes we invite people into spaces to be authentic, and then we chastise them, or they're chastised based off of performance, right?
See?
Because what we like to see, and I literally was having a call with somebody, and we were talking about performance, and I was like, oh, well, you know, they wanted me to have this conversation around performance, and I was like, well, I can't really help you there, because what you just described to me is very rooted in white supremacy. So I don't know how to help you, like, besides telling you that it's nonsense. But they were like, no, it's like, you know, there's these theories out there that talk about how performance and exposure and all these things and connections are the real reasons and how you really advance through companies. And I'm like, right, but what you're missing is the access and the opportunity that folks need to make those connections. Because if y'all are going to, if the folks who are making the decision around what my success in the organization looks like are going to the golf club on the weekends, and I gotta babysit, that's not gonna work, right? So how do you expect me to then climb, right? So I mean, so I bring it up as an example because I think that's where a lot of folks have really seen, was like, oh, let's talk about authenticity in Black History Month. But like, okay, what happens now? What happens on Tuesday? So you want me to talk about Black history now, but then what happens on Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did we just go back to be like, okay, we addressed it, it's fine, we'll get to it next year, right? And it's like, for us to really continue this sense of, and I think we all have a role and responsibility, right? So I'll say, for Black folks who are in leadership positions, you are responsible to use your privilege and your power and position to foster inclusivity for Black folks in your organization. And I was like, well, I do that to a degree. What does that look like in practical, right? One of the things I do, folks know me all the time to ask good questions. I've been in organizations that are very white-run organizations, and it's like, okay, well, the questions you ask for these icebreaker questions are horrible. They're tragic. And the reason I don't participate is because it's stupid. So my question is, you give me the time to open the conversation, it's gonna be, okay, so what do you like in your grits?
Boom. See?
And for those and it's okay. Because look, I eat grits, cream of wheat, oatmeal, all of the above. Right? But when you say, but something like that's so easy, lets people know that you see them, you hear them, you value them. And it cost me nothing because I was going to have to ask the question anyway. Right? But we think it has to be so far and so stretched for something to do. It can be small, like practical notions.
Yes.
To say, hey, I see you, I hear you. Right? Maybe it's the way you adorn yourself that morning. I wear head wraps when I am ready. Right? I am showing up as authentically as I can beyond the 28 days, right? But I also know that there's a responsibility for me to make sure that those other folks, because let's be honest, right? We have to be very honest. I think with us who are on the call today, right? We've done the work for folks to respect us to a degree of where we're at, right? Like enough of us who do kind of human-centered work, right? And work around dismantling systems of injustice. Folks know that we don't play when it comes to the work.
See?
Right. So when I ask for folks are always like, now that Juneteenth is a holiday, folks are like, well, I don't have to work Juneteenth. I said, I've never worked Juneteenth.
Oh,
And people are like, how did you do that? I said, I've always worked in HR and I've always asked the question to my HR director of, I'm swapping out July 4th for Juneteenth.
See?
And I guarantee, the faces that I used to get, they were scared and afraid to say anything but yes.
Tell me no.
Please tell me no.
I dare you.
The over-the-top loud
Yes.
person who's gonna let everybody know.
See?
I asked, and I gave you the reason, right? Hey, I'm swapping out July 4th for Juneteenth simply because I wasn't free on that day. My people weren't free on that day. So I'm just letting you know that I'm swapping these out. Now you can tell me no, but
now you know
how that plays out for you. But like but I share these because they're the practical things that we can do. It doesn't always have to be where we're doing, you know, there is a march or there is a protest or, you know, there is this project that we're working on. It can simply be through these kind of micro affirmations and micro advantages that we show people like, hey, this is what it looks like. Right? It doesn't have to be anything too extreme or anything to cost anybody anything. I think that's what a lot of folks are. A lot of Black folks feel, to be honest, that they have to do something so far and so bold in order for them to see. No, people are paying attention all the time. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the small things. Right? So maybe when somebody's telling you that your Black employee is not listening to their feedback, maybe you ask them what feedback you're giving, because sometimes the feedback that you're giving me has no idea that I'm Black. And yes, like we need to be conscious of what type of feedback we're giving folks, right? So always asking and putting to the front of people's minds that we have to operate within an understanding that our Blackness shows up, even if we aren't the ones who made it the pinnacle of the conversation. That's my piece. I do have to jump off at 1:30 because I have meetings for the rest of the day, but you know, I'm gonna stay on for as much as I can.
All right. Thank you, Jamez. Thank you. Well, then you're gonna make me say something really quickly that we'll discuss once we get off the Facebook feeds kind of thing. But I think since you mentioned Juneteenth, and I think since all of us want to get together again, I think this collective right here should come together around Juneteenth somewhere and have another conversation like this. So please be thinking about that and where it's going to be produced and put up, et cetera, and all those things. But yes, thank you for that inspiration. Thank you, everybody thus far. We are moving on now to Claudia Alec. How do we make Black History Month 24/7, 365? What's your words? What you got to say? Thank you.
All right, this is Claudia Alex speaking, and the question is, how do we make Black History Month 365, 24/7? The first question is, why do we have a Black History Month? Black History Month started off as Black History Week. We started that off because we live in a white supremacist country that was erasing Black history. We live in an anti-Black country. So we were teaching just purely white supremacist history that erased all of Black. And actually, let me take a moment. What is Black history? What are we even talking about? There's no such thing as Black history. There's history. There's what happened. But unfortunately, we live in this strange racialized dystopia that decided to sell us this white supremacist lie of what history actually was. So then we had somebody say, well, we recognize that all this racism is bad for us as an entire country. We saw what happened to Germany. We don't want death camps like that. We want our death camps. We're still the United States, but not like that. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to have a little safety valve. And that's what Black History Month was. It was just a little safety valve instead of actually making all of history just not racist. What we do is we just have a safety valve once a month or once a year. We're just going to maybe tell some of the stories right. Maybe acknowledge that some of us are full citizens. Maybe acknowledge how much of America was built on Blackness, how much we owe Black people for everything. Because you know what? Whenever I look at something good in the US, I take 5 steps back and I see that a Black person started it, a white person stole credit for it. So what is Black History Month for? It's a corrective to indoctrination. And what is the historical moment that we're inside right now? We're inside of a moment where we're getting the backlash of, we had that beautiful 1619 project came out. 1619 project came out and said, you know what? Hey, you remember what history is? This is what really happened. And this is how the country really started. And then some very rich people, an entire political class went, we can't let people actually talk about what really happened. And they did an entire thing where they made up a thing called CRT. There's a real thing called critical race theory. We could have a conversation about that, but they made up a boogeyman called CRT. And they said, you know what CRT is? It's everything that all anti-racist trainings are CRT. All Black studies is CRT. Anything that indicates that white people ever did anything bad, we're going to call that a CRT. And then they made up a boogeyman, and then they made laws. They are literally making laws that are disallowing people from doing anti-racist education. They are literally politically forcing people to do anti-Blackness. So why do we have Black History Month? We have Black History Month because we recognize anti-Blackness is poison, that anti-Blackness actually kills the entire country. So we got to stop it a little bit. And we need to do this every single day, all year long. So how do we want to make it 24/7? Right now, we have to actually get involved. We have to get involved with the government because we actually have governors and politicians, and we have we have folks that are creating kind of Mad Libs kind of legislature, and then they're just passing it around to the most ignorant Republicans, and they're just filling it out with nonsense, but they're passing these laws. And so if we want to make Black History Month 24/7, 365, we actually have to get involved politically because stuff is going on right now. This is about fighting white nationalism. All right, I'm going to stop. I'm going to put my microphone down now, but I strongly believe that if we want to save our country, if we want to save our lives, we need to make Black History Month all year long for a few more years.
Yes, see. I just need to giving it all a moment, y'all. Giving it all a moment right now. Taking it all in.
I heard that mic drop. I did. I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
I heard it bounce. And then I heard it roll away. Actually, it was like, okay.
I'm gonna check in while we got a little bit of a lull. And something that came out for me, like I feel like there's going to be a lot of white folks listen to this and like, what can I do? How can I show up? Sometimes you can show up by just being in the room and keeping your mouth shut. And sometimes you can, show up by, you open the door and, I come in, we got these white organizations that got Black folks on stage with all white artistic teams. And you say, here's Black history. That's not Black history. That's a slice. Furthermore, just because you invited me doesn't mean your house is clean. Clean your house. Clean the house. Hey, we gave you a plate. Great. It's got dirt on it. Would you eat this? Yeah, you should be thankful. Nah, I don't need food. I don't need dirt. Don't give me dirt. And dirt looks like you picking this show and not asking us what this means to our community while you're programming, not after you've hired your director already. You're wasting my time. Don't ask me for feedback on your problematic scripts if you're not gonna take you start rehearsal before the feedback. Don't get me started on that madness from last month. I stopped my EDI practice because of problematic white folk. Stopped it just last month. Don't call me, don't ask me about it unless you look like folks up in here or you've done your homework, because I'm done. It's too late. They got books out here. Like, get it right? And I know I'm mad about this thing, but I mean, it's exhausting. And for the folks that are doing this work in here, look, nobody in this room is qualified to do this work just because they're Black. Being Black doesn't qualify you for this work.
See,
because some Black folks that want to do this work, we got to know what are we here to do, right? So like, I'm mad, let's burn it down. By all means, burn it down. But what are you doing in this work? What are we here to do? Because we take our feelings of anger out of this, and white folks' white guilt and masculinity and all the other stuff that men do to, all the problematic misogyny in the world and transphobia. We still got a problem, and we got to get it fixed collectively. So decide what you're in this work to do. I'm not saying activists shouldn't be mad, shouldn't be, I won't dispute how people liberate themselves. But before you walk out the door, what am I here to do today? We have to build a relationship with the things going on in our bodies and going on in our communities. They won't just go away with time. We've got to build a relationship with that. And just because we're Black and we're mad, we all got work to do.
See,
If I can real quick, Matthew, before I got to jump, because what James R. Dixon just said, like literally, I feel like there's a lot of folks who think that because you are Black or a person of color, that is all you need to do this work. And folks who like, my thing is like, okay, well, that's great. But then when I ask a question around how we're going, because let's be honest, a lot of this work has been done for the past 22 years.
40.
I've been in DI consulting for 22 years.
Yes.
22 years ago, that was race relations. Like, let's be honest, and it was very rooted in appeasing white supremacy and coddling white fragility, right? But when we ask the question around stepping away from that, you have no answer, right? Then you want to say that we're too radical, we're doing the most, right? We're angry, we're not thinking about it, right? So we have to be honest in that point, and I think that's definitely a big thing that I think folks really need to take away, right? As we really get more intentional about how we do this work. But then also, I feel like folks are still, I hear this all the time because I keep seeing it, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves. And I'm gonna be honest, so I probably have a lot of pet peeves, right? Stop calling yourself allies. Allies are not self-proclaimed. They are invited and named. Right? Like, I see this all the time where it's like, well, I'm an ally. Or someone, okay, then you tell me the story about how so-and-so said that you were an ally. Okay, you're maybe an ally for that person. That did not give you the right to go on Facebook, go on LinkedIn, where we see it very often, and proclaim that you're an ally. Because for you to be an ally for me, for Jamez, I don't need you to be like, yeah, I'm gonna march alongside. No, I need you to be in front of me. Your risk needs to outweigh mine. The way I'm willing to risk my life for this work, I need you to be willing to stand between me and anything that comes my way. So don't stand beside me and proclaim allyship. Stand in front of me and then allow me to then name you as an ally.
Co-conspirators.
On the sidelines. Oh, well, I was there. Yeah, but you weren't doing nothing. Right? There's also an action component to that work. Right? A lot of times we think that, oh yes, I was, and then the biggest thing is, well, I didn't want to speak for you. Right? But I told you what you could have done. But it was too far from your comfort. But we're out here risking our lives for this on a daily basis. So yes, with that, I do gotta go, but I appreciate you all.
Thank you.
I also gotta go. I gotta go too.
I know James R. Dixon will see you. I had a feeling that was coming up with the jumping in and everything with everybody. I respect that. I hope to see you all sometime around Juneteenth before that, I hope to see you. James R. Dixon, break legs tonight.
Break legs, break legs.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm that motherfucker. I'll see y'all soon.
Take the fire with you, y'all. Take the fire with you. That's all I gotta say. Claudia, you said that there was something more you wanted to say before we pass on to Nakia.
Yes, I
Claudia.
got on fire and I just started testifying, y'all. And I actually did have one thing. I actually came here with one thing, and it was this. There's some amazing TikTok artists who have been doing all of these great, and like artists on Instagram, just making the Black History Month stuff. Like, oh, it's so great. They should be doing that all the time, every single day. And one artist I know has been Tracy Loran. I've been enjoying Tracy's work since the top of the pandemic, just giving me the most delicious and fabulous short little videos, a minute long, giving me Black history. So Tracy Loran, I dropped a link in there. I recommend everyone go check out this artist, giving you some delightful Black history all year long.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Nakia, how do we make Black History Month 24/7, 365? What you thinking? What's on your heart and mind? What's coming up for you?
So like history is stories. It's just stories, right? Like it's our story. We are going through history right now, right? We talk about the before times and now, right? We are going through some historical events that many of us, all of us would prefer not to have gone through. But the idea is like, it's just stories. And these stories tell you how you are able to move through the world. Like when you have historical knowledge, you know who you are in a deeper way, right? Being ahistorical is part of white supremacy, is part of internalized racial superiority, and there's a reason for that. Because if you don't know how we got here, you think that this is just where we're supposed to be, right? So like when we talk about, Black people are like crabs in a barrel, right? Crabs don't grow in barrels. That is not their natural state. Somebody put those crabs in a barrel, right? And where you are changes your behavior, right?
See.
And so when we are ahistorical, we think that ghettos are just the natural environment of Black people, right? You don't realize that like this was a system that was created to be able to have a particular effect. And this is the natural effect of that system, right? Like, oh, Black people are just so much. They just got all this trauma. Every time I talk to Black people, there's a lot of drama. And like, yeah, that is not how we naturally grow, right?
Right.
And so when we talk about like history, it's important to know where we come from, because these stories, again, they dictate who we can be in the world, right? Like we all know that George Carver had his peanut, right? But like how many people in Black history are talking about Fred Hampton, right? Like Fannie Lou Hamer, right? Like there's this idea of like we're gonna whitewash history, because when I talk about stories, we take away stories that provide empowerment, that show how glorious and brilliant Blackness is, right? And Black people are, right? Like we're not interested in those stories. We're interested in stories that protect white supremacy, right? So even when you're talking about Martin, they're like, oh, Martin Luther King, he would have hated how you all are shutting down this roadway. Like, what the fuck do you think he did?
See,
history. Shit. You're like, oh, Martin Luther King would be rolling over him. What happened to Martin Luther King? Can you say what happened to him?
See.
Where is he now? Is he just on vacation? No, you say that shit because you don't understand the history, right? Like, oh, everyone should just be like Martin so you can kill us too? Like, it is important for us to be able to understand where we come from. And it's important to be very clear that our history is not just one of suffering, right? Our history is not just one of being enslaved, right? Like we talk about, oh, Black people were slaves. No, we were enslaved, first of all, right? Like we weren't born and we're like, you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna be slaves. That's what we naturally are. That's not when we have an ahistorical context, we think that Black history began with slavery, right? They enslaved people who were pillars of their community. They enslaved people who were teachers, who were mothers, who were doctors, who were lawyers, who were priests, who are being able to like be full, multifaceted people in a whole community, right? And that is deeply, deeply important that we remember that. And not only that, but history tells us how to win, right? Like literally history tells us how to win. When I talk about like history, I don't know if y'all know that when during the Civil War, there was a group of folks in Europe, like all these white people in Europe, they saw what was going on and they're like, first of all, there was a whole lot of Irish folks that came over here that were like, oh, you want us to what? You want us to like enslave Black people with you? Oh, we're not going to do that. We will take that 6-month journey back across the pond rather than to like enslave people and be a part of this dehumanization, right? But one of the things that happened when they were in Europe is that they stopped people who were in the work, who were processing cotton, all went on strike, right? And they went on strike for years. This was over 5 years to be able to make it so that the U.S. didn't have, the Southern U.S. did not have the economics to be able to continue this whole slavery movement, right? Like they had reasons to lose, right? And when we talk about history, like we need to be clear about what the sacrifices were that got us to where we are, right? And not only that, but like that there are allies that we have that are not just us, but like there are other people who actually value us and can see that this is not a way to be able to treat other humans, right? Like we need to be able to understand that our histories of include James Baldwin, right? Like Audre Lorde, brilliant people, and not just like, oh, you know, there was George Floyd again, right? Like it's not just this idea of suffering, but it's this idea of humanity, is this idea of brilliance. You got all these people out here loving Hamilton. Shit, what if they actually did one on Harriet Tubman that was accurate? Right? Like history brings us life. It shows us our culture. It shows us who we could be. And how do children grow up differently when they know that they could be in the image of somebody like Fannie Lou Hamer or anybody who is amazing, who is doing this work, right? Like Angela Davis versus Medea, right? Like when we have stories, when we include our stories, then it means that we have different ways of being able to understand the world, right? And let me tell you, like all of us on this call, all of us in the world are like, oh yes, I'm well informed. I know I get my news from a decent source. And we can talk about, oh, Fox News is some bullshit, which it is, right? But we can also talk about how the stories that we hear, even from liberal organizations, even from democratic organizations, even from progressive organizations, come from cis folks, white folks, men, hetero folks, right? Like educated, ivory tower educated. All of these stories are coming from this very small demographic, right? Go out and find me a story about COVID from a Black trans disabled woman. Go ahead. Let me know how that goes for you. We'll come back in 3 years and see if you have found one.
See?
Right? Like, how is it that what we are talking about right now is informed by lenses that are not ours, that do not serve us? See? Right? That are serving a particular power dynamic. And this is a part, we are history as this is going. And so those stories, being able to have history 24/7 means being able to understand the power of stories and how they dictate how we move through the world.
Nah. Release, remembering, release, breathe, and release. Natty, fantastic. I am itching my head because I want to hear what you have to say too. I'm crawling out of my skin, folks. It's beautiful. The vibrations they're here and they're real. Natty, how to make Black History Month 24/7, 365. How would you like to answer that question?
Oh, you know, I'm a disruptor, so I'm going to start with this: by abolishing Black History Month. We know where it fucking came from. We know the history behind it. We know why it was created. It was created to bolster supremacy culture. So you push back and say, with your Black History Month, we hear always, and then elevate message always behind it. radical, I know, but that's kind of one of the ways I look at it. The, you know, and it's done in a way that's like, hold on, let me keep with my notes because my brain's dyslexic. So one of the really cool things that's coming up in here that is just like blowing my mind right now, and it's connecting with my work so much, is like my visualization of what we're doing is we're building wide bridges that hold a lot of folk coming from all different kind of angles, that is transforming all sorts of different sectors of industry, of people, of culture, of all these different ways to look at it, these wild bridges. And step one in that is really creating sustainability practices, which is what we were talking about earlier, self-care, right? Someone had mentioned, where's your center, right? Find that center and maintain it. And in that, we gain the sustainability, we gain the ability to take this beyond February, or just ramping up our marketing strategies for January to launch it all out through the course of February and be like, we done did it. It's March. What are we on to now? Okay, everybody get your rainbow logos ready. It's almost time, right? Like, instead of viewing it through this space. So for me, that's definitely a big drive in that. But then also acknowledging that we are all healing from supremacy culture. And notice I don't say white supremacy culture, and I'm really intentional about that, because the kings may have created these systems by dividing up the land and saying, this is ours, and this is ours, and this is ours, and we own everything in that container. And they were white, yes. But the system of supremacy culture is held up by all of us. In our perfectionism, in our individualism, in this hustle culture bullshit, right? In the autopilot we have about, like, I mean, Mariella, you get this, the autopilot of following along with the colonization of digital spaces. We're holding up supremacy culture if we aren't thinking and aware. Us as individuals, as I lean more on in my indigeneity, for a lot of communities out there, my 15% Black isn't enough. So in other communities, it's fine, I'm good, I belong kind of thing. So I identify more strongly as Indigenous. So there's a relationship and a conversation and a topic and a combination of elevating Afro-Indigeneity inside these conversations. Hello, we're here too. And I think in that we allow the people around us who are kind of dipping their toe in this conversation to think a little broader, instead of just focusing always really intensely on the we know how awful Black history is, right? And I think as long as we're only creating containers that are going to talk about how awful Black history is, then the only thing people got to talk about is how awful Black history is. They can't think forward in that space. And so, I mean, that list really goes on of how we're holding it up. So that to me is a big part of the whole thing. But another big angle for me is that this binary thinking, this right, wrong, yes, no, Black, white, you fucked up, you did good, you're not doing enough, you're doing too much, whatever the hell, this binary thinking, it's muddying our progress. In my opinion, it's muddying our progress because it keeps us thinking in the sense of right, wrong. Yes. And fuck right, wrong. Yes. Right? It's not serving us. That's not our future. Our future is not right, wrong, in my opinion. So how do we create this consistency around Black history, Black futures, Afro-Indigenous future, you know? And it's really, we're doing it right now. We're creating containers to have elevated conversations and making it welcoming for folks to tune in and get their, you know, feel sweaty and be in their discomfort zone and have a couple aha moments, you know, and that is a big part of it. And like for me, when I work with clients, it's this capacity, like in the Anti-Oppression Academy, it's a big focus I have in that space, is it's decentering. You know, it's creating a space for all folks to get inside and decenter themselves. And I can specifically talk to white folks in this space, leaders who are looking at the work and being like, but how do I support the authentic existence of the Black and Indigenous and people of color in my organization? You decenter yourself. Yes. You learn the tools associated with decentering yourself, the awareness needed, the emotional intelligence needed to take yourself out of the center and really be able to navigate and understand the marginalized experience. And in my opinion, I say that a lot because it's like, I ain't no monolith out here. You know, there's no way I know everything. We are all stumbling and picking rocks out of our face as we go. You
Yes.
know, that is a big part of it. And the stories, somebody just mentioned stories. That's it. The elevation of our own stories, that connection to humanity in this space of like, what was the lived experience like, and how can that expand topics for other people, right? Somebody might look at Black history and be like, whoa, that's too much for me. That seems like a scary space, but they can go over here and maybe find a different narrative that gets them a little closer, right? Then they're elevating up that liberation ascension model that I work with, where it's like that might get them a little higher into the conversation. They might find their story in that by us really telling really, really broad, bigger topics and keeping these containers going. Like, I mean, Matthew, you know, I'm hosting events all the time. Once a month kind of thing, I'm opening the doors to these events to get people in there to like, let's have these conversations about, you know, inclusive leadership. Let's have these conversations about decentering ourselves. Let's have these conversations about stop othering. As long as we are othering, we are upholding supremacy culture.
Yes. Yes.
That's my vibe. That's what I
It's
feel.
fantastic. Can I slide in real quick? Because I love what you're saying. And I just want to ask a follow-up for you and everyone. Because I think that's a huge takeaway, that like decentering, right? Because it's easy. What do? You decenter. So I feel like, what is the fear? What is that person afraid of? Why don't they know to decenter? And then if they're asked to decenter, and I was like, whoa, but I don't know, what is it? What do you think that the fear is that this person needs to get through? And how can we support as a greater collective?
Yes, yeah, I love it. I love it. The visual I have is a fish in a fishbowl, right? And we're in that culture. We are in that water. We can't see it. We in it. We can't see it. And decentering is really tricky. Like when I teach decentering, it's a slow, methodical process for sure. It's really tricky because every sense of resistance that comes up, bam, there's a bias. What's going on there? Yes. How do we dismantle that? What's that pushing against inside of you in that sense of, you know, and then we kind of can progress a little bit farther into these different areas. Decentering is tricky. It really, really is the ability to like slow it, take it back, take a breath, think beyond your own lived experience. And that we got to slow things down. But again, we can't do that, in my opinion, if we are constantly othering and binary throwing shit out there of like, you're a win, you're not a win, you're doing enough, you're not doing enough, you're not supporting me, you are supporting me.
Okay. Hold on. Woo, hold on. Because I know where this is going. This is going into another 2 or 3 hours is where this is going. And so I'm gonna rein it in. I'm gonna grab a hold of those reins because I want to respect how precious all of our time is. And I feel it. I can feel it in the room that there is so much more that wants to be talked about, so much more that is in people's hearts and on their mind. And now that you've met one another, because you know, those of you out there in Facebook Landia who don't know, none of these other people have met before. They have me in common. These are people who I have been fortunate enough and blessed enough to have met in my life, either from 15 years ago in the room to people just 15, 20 days ago in the room that I have met. And so I want to just give a shout out of gratitude for that, a whole bunch of love for that as well. And what I'd like to do to wrap up this session here on how do we make Black History Month 24/7, 365, a question easily rolling off of the tongue. But as you can hear, there's so much heart, so much lived experience, so much story that we just got in this time together, that it's like we need to gather and come together again to keep doing this. That's how it's going to be 365. That's how some of these ideas that are in this room, we're going to keep feeding that fire, fueling that energy, shifting the paradigm, shifting the consciousness of humanity to become our biggest, fullest and brightest, allowing us to be humanity led and not led by these stories of pain and trauma and others, and not this colonizer illness that runs through us all, but that we are leading with our healing, that we're letting the healing begin for some of us, and we're moving forward in a way that embraces everyone's humanity, that embraces each other's humanity, and so that we can leave for the next 7 generations powerful tools that they can pick up and continue to use, instead of feeding them and shoving them into the status quo's box and idea of what they're supposed to be. How are we ourselves dismantling the ideas that Black History Month is only 28 days, and where it comes from and who created it? So what I'd like from everybody right now, I'm going to end with a quote. Okay, I'm going to end with a quote from Yrsa Daley Ward. But what I'd like right now is I'd like from each person, and I know this is going to be hard. I know this is going to be hard, but I'd like to end with one word. Nakia's like, no. I'm not going to end.
I'm gonna break this rule. I'm gonna just let you know. I have a quote that I feel like is really important to today, and I'm gonna break the rule. I'm just telling you, I want you to have misplaced expectations.
There it is. There it is. So I'm not even going to go down the list in the order in which we've been doing things. I'm just going to open it up. If you can share one word, you can share your own quote or something else. Once I've heard from everybody that's still on the call, then I will share the Yrsa Daley Ward quote that I have. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna jump in real fast because I know I'm breaking the rules. So this is a quote from Adrienne Marie Brown's book, Emergent Strategy, which I absolutely love. And it is my inspiration every day. I'm gonna make some art about it. How many of us really feel and can say, I am living a life I don't regret, a life that will resonate with my ancestors and with as many generations forward as I can imagine. I am attending to the crises of my time with my best self. I am of communities that are doing our collective best to honor our ancestors and all humans to come. That's it.
The floor is open, folks.
Okay.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds.
I have to share. That is beautiful. Nakia, Bukai, we have to do more. We have to continue the conversation, because I know each and every one of us have something to respond to and something else to say. So I think this is a continuation. We have to come back to our circle and to our moment and being in time here and now and share more. So I want to say thank you, and I'm grateful for you all.
All right, my one word is real basic, real simple, and it sounds super woo, I guess. But for me, it's about hope. That's it.
Bring it in the room. Bring it in the room. Yes.
So because y'all don't know me, I have several religious practices that I follow. I am a Black, queer, Muslim woman who is also studying to be an Ifa priestess. And so what I want to end with is, well, it's actually my Muslim name, which is Nur, which means light.
Yes.
And that is what this room has given me today, is light. And I'm so grateful. Thank you.
I love that. My name means energy. And so same. This container is definitely giving me energy.
Mine means unconquerable. It's German. I'm gonna take it though.
So I'll throw my word out. It's hard to choose one, but I'm going to choose the one that I think encompasses all the words that I want to say right now. And I'll say harmony. If we can tune into what helps us resonate and vibrate across all spectrums, across the globe, and just, get to that frequency, I think that we can, just be the change we want to see. And so please, it takes some recalibration, but harmony, I'm going to leave that with us today. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. My name is Mary Ella. I was named after 2 women in my family. So I'm going to call them into the space as well. And I think that I'm not sure exactly what Mary, of course, we had a common name. So I could travel the world. People were like, yeah, Mary. That has some historical and generational healing. But I would say when I realized that my name is a legacy, that really also changed my perspective of, ancestral healing and all that. So harmony, y'all. Peace.
Claudia.
Am I the last one?
Mhm.
Oh, I was just sitting here listening. Sorry, folks. Sankofa. Sankofa. My word is Sankofa.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The reason why I've chosen the quote that I'm about to share is because I know that I've heard the word now from a couple of people as we end. We're not ending. No, we're not. Every time that I come together in these spaces, every time that I come together with folks and I share my offering, that I do my workshops, that I go to these summits, that I speak, et cetera, it's the beginning. And it's the beginning because I have listened to actively with my heart open to other people's lived experiences that they've chosen to share honorably and humbly in my presence. And that is a beginning because now I am a different person than I started two hours ago. Completely different person. And I move into the rest of my day from this moment forward. And that is what I can give you because my past is my education. My future is my inspiration. My present moment is my creation. And thank you for creating with me today. And as Yersa Daly Ward says from her book, The How, notes on the great work of meeting yourself. Our old habits are ingrained, worn in, soft, as are the thoughts that created them. We deserve as much grace as possible in reworking them. Rest in the promise that new pathways will appear to you in the midst of these new practices, often when you least expect it. At times, it is a great feat to stay open and willing against the growing scenes of stress and difficulty, but it is all you really need in order to begin. We begin slowly as the largest, most powerful things do. My love, all my love. I will see you all soon. Those of you in the room, please stay in the room as we leave Facebook. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you all soon.
Bye, Facebook.